So we're kicking off a series of 6 messages that are going to take a look at Joseph and his life and Dreamworks and all of the things that are happening. And I'm excited about the possibilities. I had not done this in-depth level of study on a particular biblical character like Joseph in a long time. And when I started peeling back the layers of who this guy is, I wanted to dive in deeper and realized we needed to teach about the things that are important for Joseph. And what a great weekend to kick off a series about dreams. 4th of July weekend. Most of you know, if you don't know already, here a little bit of knowledge about me. I am a history buff. I love history, especially the 18th century, the colonial time period in America. And I find that time period to be an incredible moment in history, especially in the founding of our own nation. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow I'll be on the steps at the John Harris Mansion reading the Declaration of Independence to whoever shows up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 1 o'clock. So there are 4 different opportunities for you to pop down to the John Harris Mansion right there beside the Harrisburg Hospital on Front Street. You can park around back or anywhere else you find a spot and come and listen to a reading of the Declaration. If you've never heard the Declaration of Independence read out loud, it was meant to be read out loud. That's how it was written by Thomas Jefferson and the other 4 who designed the Declaration. There was not just one guy. It was actually a party of 5 people who were given the responsibility of writing the Declaration. And so tomorrow I'll be doing that in first person as John Harris Jr., the founder of the city of Harrisburg. It's everybody needs a hobby, right? And that's my hobby. Some people go golfing. I play a history character, so it's kind of fun to do. And so I'll be doing that tomorrow because it's just that whole thing for me. The starting and the founding of our nation was a dream. Now, by dream, I mean a vision given to a person, right? And so when we talk about dreams, we're talking about the picture, the vision that becomes clear to someone that is outside of themselves, comes into who they are, into their lives in some way, and shows them what the potential or what the possibility is for the future. And so when I look at the 4th of July, I look at a dream come true. It wasn't easy. It started in an incredibly difficult time, in a perilous way. The French and Indian War had led up to it. The American Revolution was a struggle. As a matter of fact, I have a ton of history books on my shelf, but I would recommend one to you. The book is called 1776. It was written by a guy by the name of David McCullough. And in that book, in that singular text, 1776, he describes how perilously close we came to all having British passports and a British accent and having tea at 4 o'clock, which isn't all that bad, actually. Kind of fun. Nice little break in the middle of the day right there, right? So, we're going to talk about what dreams look like, and in light of dreams, what things can happen in our lives and what God is going to do. Because we all have them, right? We all have dreams. Some of you had one last night that you're still recalling, still remembering, even this morning. We have all dreams. As a matter of fact, I'm even convinced dogs and cats dream. Right? Anybody have a dog or a cat that dreams? Yeah, dogs will bark in their sleep. They'll lay sideways and run. They'll do all kinds of crazy things. Cats will meow, and it's crazy. So we're not the only species that dreams. I believe that. But what I also believe is this, that God uses our dreams to speak to us. That there are times when God comes into our dreams, and dreams are crazy things. And while we don't remember most of our dreams are incredible things that oftentimes just don't make any sense whatsoever. They just don't make any sense. Somehow, I don't know how my subconscious does it, but it pulls all kinds of things from my past, from my current, present situation, from the experiences that I had today or yesterday, and the next thing you know, they're all jumbled together in some kind of a mess that shows up into my dream world. And oftentimes I'll wake up in the morning and say, what was that about? What was that crazy dream about? And so, we've all had those, going down some dark alley or being on a rainy night or being back home or being in your underwear at school or work or somewhere improperly dressed and can't figure out how you got there. But here we are. So it's just crazy. Most of our dreams are made up of something that doesn't make any sense. But there are those moments. There's moments where our dreams start telling us a little bit about what's possible. And ultimately, the visions that God gives us, the picture that God will give us in our minds of what things can look like, those are the things God will keep working on in your life and in my life and start working things out. And so we're going to take a look at Joseph. Now, Joseph is a relatively popular guy even in modern America, right? The play was written back in the 70s. Here's the poster of the play. A lot of you have seen the show Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, right? You've seen the show. Some of you may have even been in the show because high schools put this show on. I think at last count, there have been over 20,000 productions of this particular show in America. So if you haven't seen it yet, the next time it comes around, make sure you do. I've seen it in dinner theater. I've seen it in all kinds of places. It's a fun show, but it highlights the fact that Joseph was the favorite. Joseph, next to last born. He's not the youngest, but he is the next to last. And he is the most favored, so much so that his father has a special coat made for him. So not only is he the favorite, he waltzes around like he's the favorite. And he wears the coat to prove that he's the favorite. Now, I know what that would have been like in my house with 2 brothers. I can't imagine what it would have been like in this house with 11 brothers. I would not have survived the day wearing that coat once. I can almost guarantee you, not without a black eye. But Joseph wears the coat. Joseph wears this show of his father's love for him, right? So he's already on the out with his 11 brothers. His 11 brothers already do not like him. He is the guy, he's the brother no one likes. Not because he's the bad guy. No, it's because he's the good guy. And he makes the rest of us look bad. That's Joseph. Are you with me? You got Joseph's picture, right? This is Joseph. Now, nowhere does it say he's haughty about it. It doesn't say that he's overly prideful. It's just that he is who he is, and his dad loves him for it. But the other brothers, no. And it's not going to turn out well. But Joseph then goes to the next step. He decides he's going to give his life to God in such a way that God's going to share a vision with him, a dream with him, right? And so God gives Joseph a dream. Now, he's not the first guy that God has ever given a dream to. And he's not going to be the last guy that God ever gives a dream to. As a matter of fact, there are all kinds of individuals throughout the Old Testament that receive dreams from God. Solomon, Job, Isaiah, Daniel, all get dreams from God. In the New Testament, Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus, gets a dream, right? An angel visits him in a dream and tells him to marry Mary. And then an angel comes along in the dream and tells him to take Mary and the child down to Egypt, right? And then while they're in Egypt, he gets another dream and says that Herod is dead, so you can bring the child back 2 years later. And so he comes back. And so Joseph gets dreams. The wise men who visit Jesus when he's born are told in a dream not to return to Herod. And instead they go a different path. God uses dreams, amen? All right, so we've kind of established that point, right? God is using dreams. As a matter of fact, in Joel, in the Old Testament, in chapter 2, verse 28, it says, "Then, after doing those things, I will pour out my spirit on all people." Listen, your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, and your young men will see visions. All right, so if you're having dreams and visions, it's time for you to start taking a look at them and what they mean in your life. It's time to start saying, okay, Lord, you're doing something, and I don't know what you're doing. But in the second chapter of Acts, when this Holy Spirit came upon the people of God, the disciples of Jesus, and they started speaking in tongues, they started rallying the city of Jerusalem, getting excited about the presence of Jesus and the power of Jesus, they quoted this passage from Joel in Acts chapter 2. That the Spirit of God was promised to come upon people, and it's here. And we're living in that. So that means that those of us who have said yes to Jesus, who are filled with the Spirit of Jesus, can in fact receive those same kinds of dreams and visions. All right, so that's us. We are the people who are capable of receiving the visions and dreams God has for us, right? That's us. That's who we are. Because here's what's God promises to talk to us. That's his promise, that he will communicate back and forth with us, that God will lead us and guide us. And sometimes God will use our dream life to talk to us. Sometimes God talks to us in our dreams. And you might think, well, Dave, you've never seen my dreams. You're right. Thank heavens I've never seen your dreams. And thank heavens you've never seen mine. So, let's just establish that one. Your dream life is between you and God. But here's what we also know. God is active in our dreams. There are times when God gives us pictures of what life is going to look like, what life can look like, what God wants life to look like, and starts working that out. And so, let's take a look at the story of Joseph for just a minute. I want to jump back into Joseph here for a minute. We're in chapter 37. Here's what's going on. Joseph, it says in the very beginning passages here, very beginning verses, second verse, it says that Joseph is 17 years old. Some of you in the room can remember 17. Some of you are 17. Anybody 17 in the room? Is it back there? All right, got the rest of the 17-year-olds are like, no way am I standing on. No. There's a couple 17-year-olds in the room, right? And so at 17, what's the number one question people ask you? What are you going to do with the rest of your life, right? I mean, at 17, there's an incredible amount of pressure on life. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? What's next? What's happening for you? Everybody's got 101 questions for 17-year-olds. I guarantee you, every 17-year-old has been asked at least a dozen times, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And the reality is that 17, most of us don't know. Although, a lot of us have had a glimpse of what's possible by the time we're 17. Because we start falling into things we like to do, things we enjoy doing, things that we're blessed in doing them. And we start finding ourselves in this kind of groove like, this feels good. And you start realizing that God might be working out a dream in my life. God might be starting to develop a dream in my life. And I'm going to stand here and tell you right now, God gave me a dream at the age of 17. It came to me by way of the elderly woman who lived across the street from me when I was growing up, over in Camp Hill. I used to mow her lawn, shovel her sidewalk, trim her hedges, all that kind of stuff. And she would get me to visit her by saying, I left my money on the kitchen table, come in for a minute. That's how she would get me into the house and get me to sit down and talk with her a minute. She was lonely. Her name was Mrs. Bushy. I don't know her first name. I never used it. Don't know what it is. I just know her name was Mrs. Bushy. She was the sweetest old, well, she was actually grumpy. But anyway, I wanted to give her more credit than she was due. I just decided I couldn't do that in good conscience. But anyway, she would invite me. And one day I was sitting at the kitchen. Now, this is the same woman who I have said to you before had a little plaque in her kitchen that said, don't just sit there, worry. Don't just sit there, worry. That was her nature. And so we were sitting at the kitchen table and we're talking one day about life. And of course I was 17 years old. She's, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And I said, I don't know yet. I'm thinking, I know I don't want to do college. I don't really like school. And I was kind of thinking military, but I'm not sure. And she said, well, I think you would make a great pastor. And I sat very calmly in her kitchen, but inside I was going, no! It was that funny, yes. And so I thought, run for the hills. And the hills for me were the United States Marine Corps. Because I figured God was not in the Marine Corps. Or Marines wouldn't be that bad. Because I had heard all kinds of stories about the Marines, and I thought, I am going as far, because this was my Jonah moment. Those of you who know Jonah. Got called to one town, decides to go to a different town in the opposite direction, right? So this was my Jonah moment. I'm going that direction. God, you want me to go over there? We're going over here, right? That was my plan. That was my dream. It wasn't God's dream. God's dream, you see, was the one that he gave to Mrs. Bushy to tell me about. Anybody with me? Some of you have gotten dreams at the age of 17 and God working them out, right? Look at what it says in Joseph's dream. It says, we're out in a field tying up bundles of grain, and suddenly my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed down before mine. Listen, he says, I have another dream, verse 9. The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down before me. Mom, dad, the 11 brothers, you're all going to bow down before me. He was more hated now than ever before. Nice dream, right? Nice dream. You see, God doesn't always take your dream life in a place where you think it's all going to work out wonderful or it's all great for you. Now, I didn't want to be a pastor. This was not my dream. Now, that doesn't mean I don't love being here. Don't get me wrong. We'll get there in a moment. Joseph, can you imagine Joseph at the age of 17 being in charge? He's got the coat. Everybody's going to bow down. But there's a problem. He doesn't have the years of experience. He doesn't know what he's doing yet. There are a lot of things that have to happen. And so Joseph needs to go through a time of development. See, dreams take time to develop on purpose. God is working things out. God is developing your life and mine so the dream can look the way God wants it to look, not the way we want it to look. I could not be a pastor at the age of 17. I would have failed miserably. I wasn't ready. I wasn't trained. My attitude was wrong. If I would have chosen to be a pastor at the age of 17, I swear I would have been the worst pastor you'd ever had. I swear. But see, through the developmental process, through the experiences that we all have, through the things that happen to our lives, 17-year-olds grow up and grow into the dreams that God gives to them. The dreams that God gives to us. Maybe your dream came when you were 12. Maybe your dream came when you were 10. Maybe your dream came at a church camp. Maybe your dream came at a mission trip or a retreat. Maybe your dream came while you were walking down the hall at school and you said, one day I could be a teacher just like that teacher. I don't know what your dream was. But God has been working out that dream in your life in some way. And maybe it looks like that 1,000-piece puzzle you dumped out onto the cardboard table, right? Because right now it might look all jumbled and messy. And maybe you just have the border of the dream, right? And maybe your dream has just started to take shape. It started to look like something. But I guarantee you God is moving those puzzle pieces and arranging for those pieces to be put into place in your life. And the best thing we can do is allow God to do what God does best. Because you see, God's in charge of the dream, not us. You see, what I want to do when I get a dream, I want to make the dream happen now. It's just the way I am. It's unfortunate. It's a part of my DNA. I'm working on it. But whenever I get a dream, I go to the staff and say, look, here's what we need to do, and I want it done tomorrow. I'm waiting, and nobody's jumping. I said, I want the dream happening tomorrow. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. And dreams don't work like that, do we? I mean, our dreams don't work like that. I've had to learn some things about dreams. That God is in charge of the dream and God will make it happen in God's own good, what? Time. Oh, that's hard to learn. But look at Joseph. Joseph is 17 years old when he gets the dream in chapter 37. If you jump with me over to chapter 41, go to chapter 41, verse 47 and 48 and following. Actually, let me back up. Let me back up to 46. It says, he was 30 years old when he began serving in the court of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. As predicted, there was going to be 7 more years. And during those years, Joseph gathered all the crops. Basically, what happens is Joseph has to go through all kinds of things between the ages of 17 and 30 before he even steps into the position of leadership. Do the math. Don't just do the math. I'm going to challenge you to take those bookmarks and read some of the things that are going to happen in between what we're going to talk about on Sundays over the next couple of weeks. Because what goes on is Joseph at the age of 17 doesn't understand what's going to happen in his future when he's 30 and put into this position. But what's going to happen in between 17 and 30 could derail someone from thinking it's all going to be all right. Some crazy things are going to happen to Joseph in that time range from 17 to 30. As a matter of fact, some crazy things are going to happen all throughout Joseph's lifetime. That's why we want you to read all the way to the end of the book of Genesis to chapter 50 and see exactly what goes on in Joseph's life. Joseph is one of those guys who lives a really long time. He dies when he's over 100 years old. Because you see, here's what's up. Joseph doesn't realize the fullness of the dream until he takes his last breath. Because dreams take a lifetime. Dreams take a lifetime. You see, my desire is I want to dream tomorrow when God says, look, I got your whole life to live this dream out. Slow down. Take a breath. It's going to be okay. Dreams take a lifetime to get fulfilled. At 30 years old, it's going to take him another 7 years to go through the 7 prosperous times in Egypt that have been promised in the dream that he reveals to Pharaoh. That there's going to be 7 good years of wonderful crops, of great harvest. But then there's going to be 7 years of famine. So now he's 37 years old. He's still in charge, but now the famine has begun. 2 years later, his brothers come into his palace courtroom asking for food because there's nothing left. And at 39, he starts realizing that dream God gave me at 17 is starting to become a reality. How many of you have been waiting a while for the dream to come true? Anybody waiting a while for the dream to happen, for the dream to start unfolding, for the dream to start happening? I don't know what the dream looks like for you. I don't know what God has given you. Maybe it's a dream for a career or a job. Maybe it's a dream for a relationship, a husband, a wife. Maybe it's a dream for a child that you've been waiting for a long time. Maybe it's a dream for financial security or to be out from under something that's been weighing you down. I don't know what dream God has given you, but I guarantee you something. God is working on the dream. God is not sleeping. God is not dozing off. God is not out taking a walk on your dream. I promise you, God is busy. Psalm 121 says that God does not sleep, that God does not slumber. So the promise, not from me, but from God's word, is that God is active in the dream. You know that puzzle, that 1,000-piece puzzle you dumped on the table. When you go to sleep at night, God doesn't go to sleep at night. God's moving the pieces of the puzzle in your life, pulling it together so that when you wake up in the morning, you may get a better picture of what the dream looks like in your life. God is not asleep. That's the first thing I want you to take home today. God is not sleeping on your dream. He's going to bring it about. It's going to happen. He's working. Be patient. Oh, there's that word. We're going to get back to that. The second thing we need to remember is that our dreams don't always turn out the way that we think they should. You see, our dreams don't turn out perfectly according to our thought process because we're human. We're not perfect, and we're going to throw in our imperfections into the dream. There were things that needed to be in place for Joseph before he could live out the dream. There were things that needed to take place in his life so that he could be the experienced individual that would now be in charge of all of the food supplies and all the stores of all of the country of Egypt. He couldn't do that at the age of 17. He had to go through those moments. And some of us in this room, some of us need to understand that God is working out a dream and we're not there yet. There are still pieces that need to be put into place. School still needs to be finished. There is some life that still needs to be lived. God is still working the dream. And that doesn't mean we postpone life or living. It means we live into the dream where we're at right now. Take it full, take a deep breath and say, okay, God, I don't know what aspect of the dream you're causing me to live today, but I'm going to live out this part of the dream today. Mary Lockley is the associate director, or the assistant director of our CrossPoint Christian child care here. And every once in a while I get a chance to walk down the hallway and I say, Mary, how you doing today? And she'll answer back to me, I'm living the dream. Anybody ever say that? I'm living the dream. Turn to somebody and say, I'm living the dream. I'm living the dream. Right now. I don't know where this dream is going to take me, but I got to tell you, I'm living the dream. And what I know is that dreams take time. And time means patience. I prayed for patience once. and God gave me 3 children. He said, now, we're going to learn patience together. It was the best lesson I ever got. You see, we live in a microwave culture with a crock-pot God who says, I got all the time in the world to cook this out in your life. And we want to push 1-3-0 cook, right? And hope that in a minute and 30 seconds we got the dream. When God says, no, 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 you just put it on slow and let it cook all day. Because that's how God is working. Because you see, there may be some piece over here that's not together yet that God's working on. And this person over here that God is working on is just being stubborn. And hasn't surrendered yet, hasn't given in yet. So God can't make the dream complete until this person says yes. So he's told you to wait. Well, it's going to take some patience. And none of us like that. None of us like that. But the next thing is the word you need to hear today. Take this word with you. Because dreams take perseverance. Stay the course. No matter what happens, no matter what comes along, we're going to take a look at Joseph's life and all the different things he's gone through in his life to get him to that point where he can start seeing the dream becoming a reality. Stay the course. He gets beat up by his brothers, thrown into a well, pulled back out of the well, half unconscious, gets sold by a caravan of slave traders, gets taken down into a foreign country where he doesn't know the people, doesn't know the language, doesn't like the food, gets sold to a person he doesn't know, can't understand what he's saying, whose wife keeps propositioning him. And because of that, because he won't give in, she blackmails him and gets him thrown into jail. He's now beaten, slaved, thrown in jail. This is the dream, God. You could see how Joseph could have asked, what are you doing, Lord? Stay the course. God's working the dream. God's working the dream. Some of you have said, it's time to give up on the dream. We've got to change. We've got to do something different. And God is saying, stay the course today. Stay the course. When Jesus Christ came to live on the earth, it would have been easy for him to know that the course was going to lead to the cross and say, that's not my dream, God, it's yours. Take this cup from me. I don't want to go there. But thank God he stayed the course for your life and for mine. And so my challenge for you today, my word for you today is this. Keep the dream going that God has given you. I don't know when you got it. I don't know when God unloaded that dream into your life. I don't know what the dream looks like. But I guarantee you this, that if you start living into that dream every single day, watch what God will do.